Hey, oh, so I am a little disappointed in myself because I had looked at BLDR last week. Last week was the final week of March 2023. So currently today it's Saturday, April 1st, 2023. And so I was looking at BLDR at the start of last week. So it was last Saturday, a week ago today. And it was currently at, or then it was at 84.46. And so looked like if I had gotten in there, it would have looked like a good opportunity. It went up to 88.78. The most recent day showed an increase of 2.93%. So definitely some positive movement. I have the daily time frame right now on the screen, and as you can see, there's a clear uptrend here. It looked like it lived in the 10 o'clock, the $10 mark up to 23 for a while. It broke that high back in January 2020, getting up to $28, pulled back to $10, so big drop. And then ever since then has really been kind of moving up. We saw some decent downward trend here, so that's a pretty big pullback there from reaching 87 to 52. So what's interesting about this now is we have hit a new high. So the most recent high was, it looks like it got up eventually. Let me zoom in a little bit. Bear with me. I'm still struggling with this stuff, so bear with me. Sorry. Okay, so why can't I? For all of you who might be TradeView experts, you're probably getting sick by this, so I apologize. Let me pause this so I'm not wasting your... Okay, sorry about that. So now, still the daily time frame, but just we can see the price action a little bit closer. So I just want to quickly see what sort of pullback we've seen since this previous low here. Okay, so this right here, and so this is where I struggle because as I've said in many of the previous videos that I've recorded, I'm new to supply and demand trading. What I'm struggling with is one of the rules I've been told is very important in supply and demand trading, or using that strategy rather, is waiting until you see, if you're going for a long position, is waiting until you see a pullback of 50% or more, right? And then if you see the pullback of 50% or more, and then if you see from there, so let's say it decreases more than 50% from the original starting, or from the original high, so it decreases, drops down, so we're at like 50% of the previous gain, and it bounces and it goes back up to a new high. Then you're seeing a confirmation of a break of structure, right? Which now says, okay, we're looking at potential long play, right? So what I'm struggling with is, it just feels like every setup I see, it's like it never drops to 50%. It's almost like everything I find that's very obviously a potential long setup never pulls back 50%. And so maybe that's, my own issue, and maybe I need to be more patient, but it's something that, I'm looking at. So anyways, here's what we have so far within the daily time frame. So what I'm going to do is just work my way down. I'm going to, I'm at the day right here. We are seeing an uptrend. I'm going to see if I can see something at, the hour, the 15-minute, or even the 5-minute. I'm not going to go any shorter than the 5-minute. So anyway, so here we are. We're looking at, from a day standpoint, we're looking at, there was a, let's see, this was March 6th, and it was pretty much pulling back all up until March 15th. So that's about 9 trading days. And then we saw a pretty big jump from that point on up to, we saw a pretty big uptrend with obviously some red candles along the way, but pretty much in that same amount of time, 16th to the 31st, we saw another, move up. So, on one hand, we could say, well, maybe it's just going to kind of hit this wall, right? Hit this resistance, we'll say, and drop, right? And then we'll see the 50% pullback, which this middle line here, that's 50% from this low to this high here. So we could certainly see that, or we could see it break this. So what I want to do is drill down into, we'll do the hour time frame and see, what we can do here. Okay. So now if we take the same concept, wrong thing, sorry. And we say, okay, let's see from here, does it pull back? So this does. So let me do that again a little bit neater. So if this is our low point that we're looking at, and we go up, so if you even go up to here, it pulls back 50. So then theoretically, I want to kind of keep doing that as a part of an analysis. So we started here, it pulled back 50, and it went up from there. So then it went here, didn't pull back 50 from the high, so I got to go up to the next high. Still hasn't pulled back 50%. Let's say now it has, right? Now it has right here. So now what we want to do is, let's delete that, and let's see from here what we got. So at this point now, from here, it has not pulled back 50%. But this area is what I'm interested in. So now what I want to do is I want to look for a demand zone that is below this 50% mark. In other words, if it doesn't cross below 50%, I'm not interested. I don't want to do it, right? Because I'm following the rules, and from what I understand, from what I've learned, you really want that 50% pullback before you make a move. So we are seeing newer highs here. So I feel optimistic that it's going to try and test this high here, this $90 mark. Right now it's at 88.78. So what I want to do is I want to look for a demand, which I think there's one here. Now that doesn't bring me to 50%, so I don't love that. However, we do see a potential right here. That's a potential demand zone too. So we could see, so it could do this, right? It could do that. And at that point, it didn't pull back 50. So it's still, I would say if you enter here, you're chasing it. It might work out, but you're chasing, right? So we want a pullback. So let me get rid of that. I want a pullback to about here, right? And then I would probably set, to be honest, I'd set my first target here. And, you might see something like that. Might face a little resistance because this is a demand zone that it broke. So it might, kind of, I assume it kind of works the same way as support and resistance. So it becomes a supply zone. And then you hope it can do here, right? It can work its way up there. So you would say one target would be here, and then obviously the next target would be about here. So if that were the case, right, if we had a pullback here, right, so we would do, I would go to below this low point here, and I would say my first target just below that. Again, it's a demand zone right now, but it could act as a supply zone. I'm not sure. So that would be one target. And then I would just do the same exact thing, but I would do just a higher target. So I go here, and then I'd bring this up to this previous high right there. See if it tests that high. So we got a 3.75 R&R there if it pulls back. Now, that's such a good R&R that tells me it probably won't pull back this low. It probably won't happen, and my order will never get triggered. But if it does, great, because then I got a nice little setup with target one with a 1.9 R&R, target two 3.75 R&R. So it's almost like I could do a pretty strong position here because my risk is so low. Okay, so the next thing though is, So that's one potential setup that I'm considering. And then the other potential is if I take this, how high does it have to be until this is a 50% pullback here? So let's say we got a new high here, okay? So let's say it goes, I just want to change this color here, but I'll do that after. I'll say something like that, right? So if that's the case, right, because if it does hit 91.76, what's nice about that is now we have a newer high, right? It broke this potential $90.15 resistance rather. So if it hits 91.79, right, now I'm interested, right? Now I'm interested because it's now, there's a clear supply or demand zone rather. So if it hits this point, now I got a nice, you know, if it pulls back 50%, now it's hitting this little demand zone right here, right? And so what I would look for is an entry here. I would probably go below this point right here. There looks to be a lot of support there. So I'd go right there and I would have one, I mean, look at that. You know, that looks pretty good. So if it hit here, pulled back, I mean, that's right there. That's pretty good. 2.07, and you're not even, you know, going back up to this high. So theoretically, we could go one here, half the position there, and then we could go again, same entry, same stop, but we could have it go to test this previous high. 4.01, 2.07. So those are two potential scenarios. So if it starts to decline from this point, then I'm really focused on this demand zone. If it starts to increase from this point, I'm really looking to see if it can go beyond this 90.15. That's important, right? So I'll just kind of mark that up, 90.15, just so I have it as a reference, right? So if I see it break this 90.15, if it can get to 91.79 or higher and pull back, now I got a nice little supply zone, or I'm sorry, demand zone at 50%, a little more than 50% of a pullback. So it's looking like an A-plus setup if it can get there. So obviously there's a lot of ifs that need to occur, but that's just something that, again, as I'm learning, it helps me to think out loud. So I'm looking at BLDR. I'm not going to put in an OCO because I really have to see what this is going to do. If I were to put in an OCO, if I just, for whatever reason, decided to do it, I'd probably just, my plan right now is to just wait to see what happens on Monday. But if I were to put in an OCO, I would go here. I would assume it's going to go here, and then I would have that be my target. And like I said, I could do another one where I'm going for the previous high. So if this ends up being the high, then yeah, then I would have a second one. And I know it's confusing because now I got a bunch of these things here, but then I would go to here if this became the high, right? If it started to decline from there. So again, you kind of got two potential setups either way. So if it starts to increase, I'm looking at this demand zone. If it starts to decrease, I'm looking at this demand zone. Pretty much any other scenario that happens, you know, it wouldn't be actionable, at least based on my analysis. So I would love comments. I'd love feedback, especially if you're a supply and demand trader. I don't do these videos because I'm trying to help people. I'm doing these videos because it helps me process what I think I want to do. So if there's any, you know, seasoned traders out there that see this video and are kind enough to offer some feedback, I would love that. I think that would be very, very helpful. So any input is appreciated. All right, thanks. Take care. Good luck.